Hey there everyone and welcome back to the React.js training. Now the projects that we'll be doing in this section, you're gonna just love them because we are gonna deal up with the advanced stuff now. So enough of the basic trainings. Now let's go ahead and move on. Now let me first tell you about the project. Already you might have seen that in the very first what we'll do about the projects in the very first of the course. But let me explain you quickly what we are doing up with the Usurvey. You might have already guessed the U stands for the Udemy here. So basically we are creating a fictitious scenario in here. So let's just say Udemy wants to create a survey and all they want to do is ask the student their name, and that would be the first screen. And by the way, we are going to create a single page application, but for just explanatory purpose, I'm going to say a first screen. So on the first screen, they're going to ask the student name, and then as soon as the student submits their name, we're going to ask three questions to the student. And obviously student will not be displayed these questions until unless he enters his name. As soon as he enters his name, the questions will be displayed to him, like what kind of course you like most, and the questions like are you a student or in a job or looking of a job, or questions like in online are online courses helpful, so he can say yes, no, or maybe. So not much, just a few questions. So that is going to be fun. Now the interesting part about this course is we're going to store everything into a persistent database, and we are going to be using Firebase for this. And I know this is interesting and very exciting. Firebase, in case you are already aware of that, we'll talk about it and I'll show you some of the competitors of the Firebase and we'll explain you what Firebase actually is. So I have already created a project for you, create React App U-Survey. And I'm already into the project. Oh, no, I'm not into the project, so I'll go inside that and let me clear up everything in here. Now as I do a quick ls, I can see package.json is in here. So I want to install two packages in here before I get started with my project in here. The first is going to be the Firebase and second is going to be UUID. Now UUID means a unique user ID because there can be many students who can fill up, and since we are storing everything into the database, we want some unique ID to differentiate that nobody overwrites each other's values in here. So obviously there can be 100 Johns, there can be 100 Sams, and we want every data to be there. So not just like if we are storing the data of the Sam, any other Sam comes up and we just overwrite it. No, we don't want to do that. So the simple thing would be npm install, and we're gonna save that so that you can do npm install later on if you want to run the project. And what we will be doing is first of all gonna be Firebase, which is gonna take a while, and we want UUID as well. So Firebase is gonna take a while to get installed, and let's just get it installed in here. In the meanwhile, I will show you how you can set up your Firebase. So go to firebase.google.com. Obviously it's gonna ask you to enter your Google credentials, so you need to enter your Google account, and then you will be redirected to console.firebase.google.com. If not, just go to this URL after login, console.firebase.google.com. And yours might be pretty much empty. And in case you were with me in the iOS 10 course, you might have seen we have created some fantastic apps like Snapchat clone, mission apps by James Bond and all of that. But again, in case you are not, by the way, check out that course. It's pretty awesome. So click on this create new project, and we're going to create Usurvey there. And my awesome project name is Usurvey. So there we go, Usurvey. And the country doesn't matter in here, just create the project and we are good to go. Now this is also gonna take a while. Let me in the meantime explain you what we are doing in here. So we are relying for our entire database like authentication, database, and a tons of other things onto the Firebase. Now a very close competitor of Firebase is right now backendless, but there is also known as parse. And parse used to be almost exactly the same thing, but it was almost exactly the same thing. Now the parse is actually residing totally on GitHub. It's completely open source now. It used to be run by the Facebook, and the Firebase is backend by the Google. So there has to be a close competition between parse, and actually that's not the, and I think this is the link we are looking up for. Yep, this is the link we are looking up for. So parse, and why we are choosing the parse, you might be asking, or the Firebase. Firebase is actually mostly automatic in here, but to use the parse, we have to just use AWS, Amazon Web Servers, and a lot of configuration need to be done. And we want to skip all of that. And by the way, I would also like to mention the backendless, and people appreciate when I mention backendless because some of them have used it. It's almost exactly the same as parse and Firebase. It's a close competition there. And I've seen people using it, but again, I make sure you check out the pricing as well. It's free for the initial. Almost exactly the same setup that you're going to learn in the Firebase, almost same. But check out that. We'll be using Firebase. Okay. So our things are ready to go, and you can see it gives you a lot of things like analytics, authentication, database. We'll be using database in this video, and later on we'll be also using authentication maybe in the later on projects. And it takes a lot of things like storage, hosting, cloud function, notification, test labs, remote config, AdMob, app index, AdWord, cloud messaging. So I know it's a lot, but we'll be just using add Firebase to web apps, and we will be coming here later on. Okay, so just make sure that your app is ready and you are onto this screen. So we'll come back in here later on. Right now, let's just check out if things are good in here. And I've already opened up our project into Atom. In case you haven't, just open it up. And in the package.json, you should see the UUID. Any version will work up. And we also need Firebase. Any version will work up. Make sure both versions are above 3. In case not, you can enter manually in here and can run npm install. By the way, that is completely good for us. Now, we can go and look out for our terminal, and we can simply say npm start to just start that, and it should be running. Okay, it just launches my app again. And there we go, we are good to go. So we are just setting up the project in this video. And let's quickly do what we are about to do in this project. Now, the very first thing that we'll be doing is open up your CSS for survey.txt, which is again in your root folder of exercise file. Copy this. I know this is a lot of code, but you don't have to be scared to look at this. This is just a basic CSS to make sure things we are doing looks almost good. We haven't focused much on the CSS in this entire course, but just there. And go to the bottom and paste that. You don't need to check out or delete any other CSS. Just keep it there. Save that and done. That's the config setting 1. Now go into the app.js, and we don't need this paragraph. We can delete that. Save that. Now right click on your source folder, click on the new file, and we are going to call this as simply Usurvey.js, and we are creating a new component so that whenever you need this, you can just take this component and can go somewhere to just click on the surveys. Okay, nothing much in here to be said in here. We just want to define a few things. So let's just get our things up and running first of all. React, component, and that all will be coming from React, and RCOM for React component, and we'll be calling it as Usurvey, and we'll be exporting the class as well. So we'll be saying export default, and I would like to just copy the, oops, I made a typo there. Oh, finally I saw that, otherwise it could have made a mess there. And there we go, and save that. Looks good. And I'll be saying simply some things in here like I am from survey component. Okay, that is good. Now let's go into app.js and make sure we are calling this component in here as well. So we'll be just doing a simple component, oops, just like that. And let's close this, save that, and we should be seeing that component. And we didn't because we forgot to import that. So let's just quickly import survey from /survey. That should make the things good. There we go. We can see some CSS being loaded up, and I'm from surveys being loaded up. So nice blue color there. In case you're not a big fan of the blue, you can change that in the CSS. But now our setting is good to go. And just onto a quick summary, You should have created a new component, should have added a CSS into your app.css file, and you should have created a new component, Usurvey, and you should have called this component in here. And as well as go to firebase, console.firebase.com. Your app should be ready. We haven't done anything inside the app yet, but this should be a primary setup for our Usurvey app.